I know, guys, I know that you often wonder and think, I've seen in the industry all of these different roles, all these different positions. I'm new to this industry. How does it all fit in? How does it all play out? How is it going to benefit my agency with all of these different moving parts? There's a lot to carry on your shoulders as a new home care owner. Welcome, everybody. We are here again with Home Care Business Advisors, and we are today discussing the liaison's role in discharge planning. Yes, discharge planning. It's for us as equally as it is for our facilities and our referral sources. And we have Eric with us today, and I know that he is a familiar face to the Home Care Business Advisors family. And yet here again, he's spending his time just sharing his knowledge and his expertise with us to talk about how do we fit in this discharge planning role. Eric, hey there.
How are you? Thank you so much. Fortunate to be on our third installment, I think it is.
Third or fourth, nice. I think. We're up there. We're up there. Yeah. We're going to have to give you a merit badge.
That's right.
But Eric,
thank you again for having me.
Oh my God, absolutely. And it is always an absolute pleasure for us as well. So Eric, I'm going to delve right in. You know, we don't have much time, and I know there is so much to talk about. Eric, in your role in home care, you are that pivotal point in being that communicating part between facility, referral source, families, client, and your agency. So what is, in a nutshell, what is that role of the discharge, in the role of the liaison, in the discharge planning process?
So we are the bridges, tunnels, whatever you want to call it. We are, we speak first, let's say, to the case managers, the social workers, discharge planners, nurses, anything that pertains to a person's discharge or prior to discharge. And we also communicate with the families, the patients. We meet the one-to-one with our patients or our future patients, as well as our own staff or our back office in the home care industry, in the home care business. So it's really three different hats, potentially maybe even more, that a liaison really wears on a daily, I would even go so far as say an hourly basis, especially before a case begins.
Right. So the term that we used to use, marketer, is it really a marketer? Is it something that can be actually blended? Because again, if I'm thinking of a marketer, you're just going to go out and just get business, right? A liaison is, like you said, was wearing many, many different hats and has many different roles that they have to fill in. So what would you say the differences are between those two terms?
I think they're basically the same term in the sense of, listen, we're liaisons and we're also marketers at the same time. You know, we're representing ourselves as a professional. We're representing our own business, whatever business you're working with or working for. So you are essentially every single moment you are marketing yourself and your company with the role that you're playing together with the social workers and discharge planners. So I've loved saying this, but it's been my highlight: communication. Period. The end.
Right.
That is what it is, and that is your go-to strategy and your go-to marketing tool that you have even as a liaison. So they're kind of overlapping for sure in the industry, especially in home care. But you are essentially the go-to person, and then by default, they already know what your profession is, what you do, what your company has to offer, what your company is different from, let's say, other companies. And that's how you are marketing yourself as a liaison.
So let's do a little bit of role play here. So, I've come to Eric and I'm saying, I want to be a marketer. I'm going to be a liaison, right? In that description to me, in terms of what my role would be as a liaison, can you share with us what that journey looks like, what that stretch looks like?
Sure. So the marketer, I would say, let's break it down into two different parts. The marketer piece will be the brochures, the constant visitation to your primary sources, your potential referral sources, constantly knowing who you are, what you do. The liaison is the one that will kind of continue that process but bring it home and drive it home to the next level of care, whether it is meeting with the families, meeting with the patients, getting that referral source, maybe just the marketer's role. Liaison's role is more taking that referral source to the next level of meeting, greeting, organizing, having those sometimes tough conversations with families, with patients, and figuring out what would be the best way to provide the discharge papers, the discharge service, to kind of transform them and transition them from the rehab, hospital, whatever their prior setting is, back to the home safely.
So needless to say, Eric, that relationship, and we talk about this all the time, just like you're repetitive in terms of communication, I know that I'm very repetitive in terms of this is a relationship business, right? Is that the liaison's ability to communicate and liaise with the discharge planners, the case managers from the facility, and coordinate all of these things is going to be of high importance, right?
Correct.
How do you get to that point of having those types of relationships that you can actually, formulate and be a part of the discharge planning process?
So it's getting in front of them and speaking with them first, maybe just a phone call, maybe even an email to just introduce yourself. But it's just more than that. It's actually meeting, explaining that, okay, this is what we do. This is what we offer to our friends, our families, our communities, our other prior clients or future clients. But it's, again, taking it really to the next level, because most likely they've already given your brochure out, your pen out, your information, your business card, something of that nature, where they're expecting a call from the patient's family members saying, hey, we're waiting to hear back from the liaison. We're waiting to hear back from our contact that you gave us. We're still waiting to hear back. So the liaison's role in that would be to communicate very well, very effectively with the discharge planner, saying, hey, just want to let you know, I did in fact speak to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That we had a great conversation. We're meeting so and so that they know that that information that was passed over a week, maybe even a couple of days ago, has been already marketed, taken care of. But the liaison's role in taking it to the next step and saying, you know what, I just want to let you know as feedback, we've already discussed, we've already spoken with them, we're meeting them, and getting all those details into place.
Right. Now, taking all of that information, the flip side of that pancake, there's always two sides to a pancake, right? Is that all of that information that you pull from one side has now got to be translated to your team. So again, the liaison's role in discharge planning, it's not just the discharge coming from the facility and the communication with the facility, it's a communication with the whole care team. So go through what that's like for you in terms of communicating, delivering the message, delivering the information, and also being a part of that appropriate caregiver match process.
Yes. So, and thank you. That's a really great question, and probably most important role in a liaison's discharge planning, especially communicating with the team. You have to find out certain things, and I've actually made certain bullets you can jot down where it's helpful for me to figure out more of like a checklist of what are the things I need to communicate to my staff to tell them that, okay, I think Maria is the greatest aide that will take care of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So first things first, go to the chart. Find out everything you need to know about blood pressure, any outside info that they have been using, their prior level of function, how many steps do they have going in and out of the house, do they live alone, do they live with family. I mentioned even in the past, the house environment, super important. An aide needs to know this before they go in. Is there going to be somebody there, or are they going to be the one in charge of everything, literally the household, the medication reminders, and if need be, even the setup of the medication, which an aide is not able to do, but the nurse of the agency can set up prior or even on day one of when you're already providing services. Another great thing you'll find in that chart, as far as the medications and all that, is what their ambulation is. Are they able to walk? how many feet are they walking? Is it a nice distance? Is it a short distance? If it's a short distance, what's preventing them from taking those longer steps? Is it just endurance? Is it their inability to breathe, if they're shortness of breath? What device are they using while they're walking? These are all very crucial items that need to be touched on and find out before you even talk with your staff about the case. Because,
Absolutely.
once you're going to pass this over to your staff, they're going to communicate with the aide and saying, okay, listen, let's draw this beautiful story and this beautiful movie, in a sense of, this is what you're going to expect once you
When you
get to
get there. Right.
so that there are no surprises.
And the other side to that, and I was speaking with one of our members this afternoon, as a matter of fact, and the question about that whole process came up. And even from a standpoint, and I think you're going to agree with me, Eric, is really understanding the mechanics of that client or that potential patient is also going to set you up and saying, hey, listen, from that first initial intake, we may have been looking at it that it was just going to be companion care, right? Because sometimes clients and families can be in denial, right? Once you actually get there, we've got edema, we've got, broken skin, we've got some skin integrity going on, and all those other things, which might then need and lead to the agency looking at your fees for service being different, right? Eric, hold that thought right there. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and we're going to finish and delve into that last part of the role of the discharge, the role of the liaison in the discharge planning process. We'll be right back.
Do you want to promote your brand and presence in the market? Let us help you do it in style without compromising lives or finances. At Homecare Business Advisors, we don't only coach you and your team towards a successful working environment, but we are also diligently aligning ourselves with affordable services and products that are convenient for you and are an enhancement of your brand. Our online marketplace is your perfect choice, where you can ensure quality with your chosen promotional products, from pens to mugs and even professional gifts. So what are you waiting for? Head over and visit Homecare Business Advisors online marketplace to choose from a range of handy, stylish products to get you noticed in your market.
So let's get moving and discuss a little bit more about the liaison's role in discharge planning. Eric, thank you again for being here. Let's continue this dialogue. Let's continue receiving some value information from you. Please give me a typical day for Eric from the time that you received that call. What does that look like?
Perfect example would actually be today. I received a text from a social worker asking me a certain area, if we were able to cover that area and what that would look like. No problem, sure. The patient, unfortunately, was hard of hearing. So I asked him, would it be okay if I actually come in and meet with the client? And now, more than ever, I think now things are opening up. And I think they're giving that availability for professionals to potentially meet with clients in the facility. And that was the case. I said, I think it would be best if I meet face-to-face with the patient, with the client, or the future client, and discuss and figure out what would be best. And that was the best thing ever. I think we're getting there. That was my role since day one when I started. Right. And years later, it still continues to be the role. And that's probably the best way to communicate, because once you meet with the client, you can get a wealth of information. You can see a ton of different equipment that they're using. You can see their posture. You can see their endurance. You can see their thought
personality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If they're able to communicate very well, they're able to have that sense of humor or not, their demeanor, and then get all the different information that I described before. And that was literally today. And then what happens after that is, then I went to the social worker, saying, first, thank you for the referral. Really appreciate it. I met with Mrs. Smith. She was really wonderful. We came up with a certain plan. As it gets closer to discharge, let's talk about, what the plan is going to look like, the details of what time the patient is going to be leaving. And that's when I can come in and bridge the gap between me and my staff in the facility. So it's key. It's key to meet with the patients, if not even just having those conversations, but right after, or if not a day later, speak back to your referral source. Let them know that you met with them so that they feel confident enough that, okay, we trust Eric. He's going to take care of all of this. And we got this one less thing I need to do. Check, and let's move on.
Absolutely. So in your opinion, and for our new home care owners that are out here today, Eric, in terms of, identifying that person who's going to take up that role as the liaison marketer, what are some of the traits that you would look for if you was that new business owner and bringing somebody into your team to represent you, represent your brand, and obviously to make sure that the care is being delivered to those clients? What is going to be those traits? What are those features?
Excellent question. Personality.
They have to be like you, right?
Yeah, well, like me. That would be I would be the model, sure. No, listen, no one's perfect. No, one of the things is the personality, how they communicate well, if they're good listeners. There's ways to see that, on interview processes, seeing what you're discussing, even if it's just about the ball game or something, how they're listening to you, how they communicate well with you, their demeanor. Listen, everybody has a nice resume. These are all the experiences. It's great. It's wonderful. You look at the numbers, how well you were able to do in your previous jobs. But you like to see somebody that can take on more than just, in the box, like, all right, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. And that's it. You want somebody that really outside the box thinking, go-getter, waking up in the morning, early in the morning, sending out those emails, getting that drive from within. Because listen, as business owners, if we're creating that constantly 4-hour reps or 4-hour liaisons, it's taxing on us. We need to have them be so motivated. And obviously, if they need guidance, that's when they come to the owners. But usually it's the liaison that needs to have that drive, that passion, that drive, that personality to take on more, and have those discussions that if they take on too much, like, let's talk about it and let's figure it out.
Right. And, and one of the things, and again, I think that you'll agree with me, is that, this is just not an arena for us to bring in, and for all the used car salesmen out there, to bring in used car salesmen in this role as a liaison or a marketer. We definitely do need to have that compassion. We need to have that drive, like you said, and we actually need to be very, very creative, because you have to fill in and, match a lot of dots. You've got to connect all of the dots, right? So your closing remarks for us. Now think about, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about this. Again, for our home care owners, new home care owners, and they're saying, hey, I need some help with this. Maybe I'm not that one. Maybe I don't have that personality, that drive, all those different things, the confidence to go out there. What is that piece of advice that you're going to give them, Eric, in terms of finding that right person to fulfill this role?
As people often say, especially in the healthcare world, we as professionals are dedicated individuals. We genuinely care. I really believe that, and firmly believe we genuinely care. You can see that on a person. You can see how well, a lot of times they'll come up with a story, what got you into coming into home care? What makes you the ideal candidate for my home care business, for ABC Home Care, whatever it is.
Right.
And you can see, you really can tell right off the bat how motivated they are. There's a story, whether it's their loved ones that they took care of, that now transitions as a paid forward, paid back, if you will, to have that passion, that dedication, that's second to none. It really is. And I think that is the number one thing that you can look for. Yes, sales are sales. Things were going to happen. We're not selling products. We're selling a service. It's a very, very unique and very different item that we're
We're
doing. We're
selling
not selling,
lives.
a bottle of water. We're selling a service. We're taking care of real life people that are in need of our help. And I think that's where the new owners of in the home care business are looking at, yeah, you got the sales experience. This is great. You're motivated. You're going to sell everything. It's going to be great. But then how does that transfer into what your role is as a liaison, as a marketer, to help grow the business outside of the box thinking? Let's say you're forward thinking of, all right, I'm just going to go to the hospitals and that's it. That's my passion. But then you hit a roadblock. Well, what does that look like?
Right.
Talk it out with your liaisons. Talk it out and have that communication, whether it's every other week, every month, checking in on them and seeing what you can do in order to help, what you can do as a liaison to provide to the business owner, saying, hey, this is what's going on in the world. The census is really not that great in the hospitals. Let's work in community, or let's work. It's always the out-of-box thinkers that are going to be the guys or gals that are going to be the most successful.
Right. I totally and fully agree with that. My last question, in terms of when is it the right time for me to find that person? When would you say that is? And again, we're talking about startups. When would you say that right time is to say, okay, now I've got to think outside the box and I need to bring in that additional person to work all these other different mechanics of the business. And it's a very, very important part of the business, no doubt. But again, we're all working on a budget. So in your opinion, and my last question to you for this evening, Eric, is that when do I, as a business owner, make that decision to step out and bring in that liaison, bring in that assistance?
If you see yourself as the business owner taking on so much responsibility, so many different options, being pulled in every different direction, and you're at that point of, dare I say, burnout, that's the time. That is exactly, you do not want to burn out yourself as an owner, because then there's just a major slope that's going to be hit. You're starting to think now, okay, now I've developed this home care business, making connections. These are great items. These are great options. But now I need to pass over that end and see and identify which are those items that you can have somebody else take care of.
Right.
If you were, as an owner, dropping off PPE to your employee or to your staff, you need to have somebody else do that, because that's just a very minimal thing that you should be doing as an owner. You should really be seeing the operations end of things.
Absolutely.
That's your time. That is your time. Don't burn out, because if you're burning out, that's it.
Right. And we have to be very, very aware of that burnout threshold, right? Mm-hmm. Because we don't actually know that we're in burnout until we're actually burnt, right? So correct. I totally agree with you. Be aware, be very much vigilant on how that internal feeling is, that energy, that drive, the mindset, because once that mind starts drifting like, oh my God, what the hell did I start this for, right? That means that we're going into that that little spiral. Eric?
Right.
You know what I'm going to say?
Yep.
I thank you so, so very much for being here as always and sharing with us that picture of the liaison's role in discharge planning. Discharge planning is a very large component, is a very important component, because without the discharge, we don't get the clients. So again, going to have you back. Okay.
It'll have to be the next chapter is, now you already got the case. Now what do we do? And
you got it.
That's, I will come up with a strategic name and a very nice presentation, but I think that's the next level of, now you got the patient, now what?
Now what? You can't just let it ride. You got to still nurture it, right?
Correct.
Eric, my love, I love you always. I thank you so very much for your time, for your professional opinions and your knowledge, and just sharing with the team today. For everybody that is out there, please tap in if you need any information. If there's anything that you've missed, you need even Eric's email or information in terms of just reaching out to him maybe and asking a few questions, please just let us know. We also have on the screen here, please just go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Home Care Business Advisors. We would love to see you there. And obviously you can get all of our information and our broadcast showing on that also. For now, guys, I'm going to love you. I'm going to leave you until the next time. Tarshell, I just saw that you just came on. It's great to see you, but we're out and we're going to see you soon. Take care.